At 68 years old, Margaret Thompson was staring down the barrel of a life sentence, 42 pounds overweight, with an A1C of 9.8. The next stop was daily insulin shots. The signs were all there. Her feet buzzed like angry bees. Every single night, her vision smeared when she tried to read the newspaper, and the memory of her late husband seemed to whisper in her ear, "Don't let the sugar win." She was not going to go quietly. One sleepless night, around 2 in the morning, she found herself typing words into the YouTube search bar that countless others have typed in desperation. Reverse diabetes, naturally. A thumbnail image caught her eye. The headline bold and almost unbelievable. Diabetics are throwing away their metformin. After discovering these 9 foods that drop A1C faster than drugs, Big Pharma is furious. She clicked. She listened intently. She grabbed a yellow legal pad and scribbled down every single food the video mentioned. 90 days. That was the pact she made with herself. For 90 days, she would eat these 9 foods religiously. No new prescriptions, no insulin. If her lab results were worse at the end, she'd start the shots and never speak of her experiment again. But if they were better, she would dance at her granddaughter Lily's wedding, and she wouldn't need a cane to do it. This is the story of those 90 days. Day 1 began with a trip to the Asian grocery store to find the first item on her list. Bitter melon. It was a knobby, green, ugly-looking thing. The video had cited a 2023 trial showing that just 50 grams, cooked daily, dropped fasting glucose by 28% in 8 weeks. Result better than metformin. Margaret sautéed it with garlic and nearly gagged on the first bite. But she stuck with it. By day 5, something incredible happened. Her morning blood sugar, which usually hovered around 212, had slid down to 171. She started calling the bitter melon her ugly miracle. Next up, fenugreek seeds. Every night, she soaked 2 tablespoons in water, and every morning, she swallowed the slimy mixture like it was medicine. Had those 1024 meta-analyses of 14 studies had shown this simple habit could drop A1C by an average of 1.12 points. For Margaret, the results were immediate and dramatic. Her after-dinner blood sugar spikes, which used to soar to 280, collapsed to a much healthier 160. She began to refer to the unappetizing liquid as my liquid metformin. Then there was okra water. The routine was simple. Sliced 5 okra pods into a glass of water before bed and drink it first thing in the morning. The key is a compound called miracitin, which helps force muscle cells to absorb sugar from the blood again. By the 3rd week of this practice, the nightly buzzing and tingling in her feet completely vanished. For the first time in years, she could sleep through the night without that constant, irritating sensation. The 4th food was real Ceylon cinnamon, not the common cassia cinnamon you find in most stores. She freshly ground 1 teaspoon into a morning coffee every day. Item 6 was moringa leaf powder. She added 1 teaspoon to her daily soup or a smoothie. A 2025 trial had shown it not only reduced A1C by 1.9 points but also decreased liver fat by 29%. This was a huge deal for Margaret. Her fatty liver numbers, which had been a concern for 8 long years, finally normalized. It felt like her body was truly beginning to heal from the inside out. The 7th discovery was white mulberry leaf tea. She brewed a strong cup and drank it 10 minutes before any meal that contained carbohydrates. The leaves contain a compound called DNJ, which actually blocks the absorption of starches in your gut, performing even better than the prescription drug act. The effect was like clockwork. Her 2-hour post-meal blood sugar readings, which used to be a terrifying 240, were now consistently landing around a healthy 180. Number 8 was barberry tea. a natural source of a powerful compound called berberine. She made sure to get about 500 milligrams of berberine equivalent each day. A 2024. Head-to-head trial comparing berberine to metformin found that it produced an identical 1.8-point A1C drop. But unlike metformin, the berberine tea also improved her cholesterol and caused zero stomach issues. Those debilitating afternoon energy crashes she used to suffer from, they completely disappeared. And finally, the 9th food, the undisputed champion of her 90-day journey. Fresh curry leaves. The instructions were to chew 10 leaves every morning on an empty stomach. A 2024 randomized trial from South India involving 104 diabetics was the proof. It showed an average A1C drop of 2.8 points in 90 days, with 68% of participants either reducing or completely quitting their medication. The leaves work by waking up the body's remaining beta cells, forcing them to produce insulin again. As luck would have it, Margaret's next-door neighbor had a curry leaf bush in his yard. Every single morning, she'd stand on her porch, chewing those bitter, spicy leaves. It tasted like freedom. The weeks flew by. By week 4, she had lost 8 pounds without even trying. Her wedding ring, once snug, was now spinning loosely on her finger. By week 6, she went for a walk with her granddaughter, Lily. They walked 2 miles, and for the first time, Margaret didn't need to stop and rest on a bench. She kept up the whole way. Lily cried tears of joy seeing her grandmother so strong and vibrant. By week 8, a milestone. For the first time in 6 years, her morning glucose reading started with a 1 instead of a 2. Then came day 90. The day of reckoning. Margaret walked into the clinic, clutching her lab slip like a winning lottery ticket. The phlebotomist greeted her with a look of pity. "Ready for the insulin class today, Mrs. Thompson?" she asked kindly. Margaret just smiled. 20 minutes later, her doctor called her into his office personally. He was uncharacteristically silent. He laid her new lab results next to her old ones from 90 days prior. The numbers were staggering. Her A1C had dropped from 9.8 all the way down to 5.6, firmly in the non-diabetic range. Her fasting glucose was 89. She had lost a total of 31 pounds. Her triglycerides were down by 64%, and her AIR score, a measure of insulin resistance, was now normal for a healthy 30. The doctor looked up from the papers, his face a mask of disbelief. "What in God's name have you been doing?" he asked. Margaret calmly reached into her purse, pulled out her orange prescription bottle of metformin, and let it fall into the trash can with a hollow plastic clatter. Then, she handed him 9 printed scientific studies and her handwritten shopping list. 2 weeks later, that same doctor called her. He asked for extra copies of her list. He had other patients. He wanted to help. 1 year later, Margaret, now 70, teaches a free monthly class at the local senior center. It's called Sugar Doesn't Own Me Anymore, and it's standing room only every time. There's a giant glass jar at the front of the room labeled The Past, where members dump their old, empty pill bottles. She'll still choose her 10 curry leaves every morning. She still drinks her mulberry tea before spaghetti night, and she dances Riali dances at every family party, often barefoot in the grass. That unopened box of insulin pens still sits on a shelf in her pantry, a relic of a life she left behind. Her A1C is now a perfect 5.4. When new members of her class ask what made the biggest difference, she holds up a single fresh curry leaf and says, "They told us diabetes is a life sentence. It turns out it's only a life sentence if you keep taking their pills." Margaret Thompson has not looked back once. If this story inspired you, please share it with someone you know who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of health and healing. Thanks for watching.